Home Health Agency, providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
They're polite. I mean, they just take the time for you.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible.
I like the Angels for what they've done for me.
Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.
Eagle Community Television presents Community Connection with your host, Mike Cooper.
Hello and welcome again to Community Connection from Eagle Community Television. Thanks for watching. And thanks as always to the producer of our series and editor, Jeff DeRaw. We're at Fort Hays State University Memorial Union in the main lobby area of the Union with Assistant Professor of Art and Design at Fort Hays State University, Joel Dugan, as we talk about Phase 2 of the Journey, which was unveiled in the Memorial Union during homecoming weekend. And first, Joel, if you would, reactions of people during the unveiling.
People were very surprised, obviously, by the fact that the mural, or this series, did kind of highlight the people that made up the history of the institution, as well as that transformation that's taking place. So the alumni responded in a very positive way to the fact that they felt like this really was something that they could see themselves in, which was great, because that was, my primary interest. I also had the opportunity to approach a few, significant alumni and/or donors that we're going to put into the next two panels. So I will meet with Don Bickle and his wife, and they're going to be in these next two panels as they help students to transition from a concurrent senior to an alumni. So.
Talk about the thought process that went into this particular panel, Joel.
Well, this panel is the middle panel in the next wall, which essentially inside of this western wing of the Union, it is the south wall, and it sits the highest up on the wall in terms of the baseline of the piece, starts almost 11 feet in the air. And so I thought about it as kind of a crest, and my interest was to get that keystone into the top of that crest that is really the block that supports all of the other weight that's distributed either to the right or the left. And so when thinking about that keystone and referencing the university model that we know to be Fort Hays, it was important to research when that was established. And I decided to utilize the seal, the Fort Hays seal, and it's actually what's on the floor laid into the stone tile inside of the center of that room. So it seemed very kind of easy to reflect that. It is the image of two students, or two young people, a male and a female, carving the seal atop what would be a hill facing east on the westward side of Hays.
So we're looking at an easterly sunrise, if
Correct.
you will.
Correct.
And in the background, we can see some of the images of buildings, right?
Correct. You can see some of the buildings that lay out to be a more modern idea of what campus is. I mean, some of the buildings that are constructed would not have been in place during the time of the original development of the seal. But you see that sunrise coming up. Now the sun is intentionally hidden behind the seal. Mm-hmm. And the idea is that they are in the process actually of carving the rays of the sun in the seal itself. And so I wanted it to be kind of hidden and feel as if the actual energy is being distributed through the piece through the act of carving. So that was intentional. But the two students I used are current Fort Hays art and design students, and they are specifically chosen to represent the gender of the two entities that helped to make the seal. So I guess a little history would be in 1930s, Mabel Vanderveer and John M. Strange were the two professors that had helped to create the seal. And at first I don't think they were very aware of the fact that it was going to be something as long lasting. They were just making a plate to commemorate the university at a time when the name was shifting, and they had a dinner that was taking place in Topeka. and they created one plate, one centerpiece that was on a table. And there was so much interest and intrigue that when they came back to the university afterwards, they decided that they were going to create a functioning studio inside the confines of the university. So they were going to attempt to mass produce these. Now, production at that time was, I think they made 100 in the first year, and then they sold them both at the university and in Topeka. I at first didn't know that, and I just sought after the origins of it because I liked the seal. It made me think a little bit about coin design and about the establishment of a brand. But I think the metaphor is pretty significant in the fact that they found a way to make some type of a middle point take place between industry and academia. And I really think that that's what we're talking about with the murals themselves. Is I never thought that I would run murals as a part of a program inside of a university setting, because that was something I did in industry that I left, and I thought in many ways that it was just a trade within the arts. Well, I think the farther that we foresee how university is going to transition, it's more important that we make sure that that transition from undergraduate to the profession is one where students are learning skills where they can carry over without a large surprise or formidable challenge. So for me, it's really important that those actually aligned, and I hope that we can do the same thing as create a studio, inside the confines of the university that's painting murals that are very much laden throughout the state as we know it, at least in western Kansas.
Well, and how many times have we seen murals being an integral part of a decorative situation, whether it's a business or a community or something, and you're bringing an expansion, it seems to me like, of programs that are going to benefit these students.
Oh yes, and it's substantial. Sometimes it's just about establishing the footprint of what can be, offered. And then you find all of this community interest that will come in, that people just want to partake in the same type of, endeavors. They want to establish the importance of either their business entity and or the lineage of their family, or they want to reflect upon the founders of their establishment. And murals serve as a great way to create a visual depiction of that effort, of that, kind of monumental exchange. Yes, it's extremely fortunate that I'm able to have the students that I have who help me to be able to take on these huge tasks on top of teaching, and also have a university filled with support, overwhelming support. And so I can't say enough. I mean, it starts at my faculty level. I have wonderful fellow faculty members inside of art and design that are really contributing to building a base of understanding under these students that then contribute to the needs of all of our endeavors. And then obviously we have great leadership. So,
well, that's translated into your mural work thus far, Joel, how early settlers can relate to parts of the mural. Students currently at Fort Hays can relate. Faculty members can relate to the buildings and the locations and everything that you've built in here. As a community, it's really amazing to hear you say that and know that's what came out. It translates very well, I think.
And I think it's that idea of trying to be constantly aware. You're building the design, you're putting forth the color palette, you're establishing the underpainting, and you just want to be aware of what the paintings are going to do after we are all out of this building. Like, how are they going to translate? And with the next two, I hope to really think about this idea of the transformation that takes place inside of the university experience. And so the panel that is off to the left of the center panel that was just hung will actually document a young student coming in and seeing the wealth of information that can be had when thinking about joining or making a university your kind of transformation experience. And then the last one will identify students who are graduating and who are themselves becoming alumni and mentors. And so I really want to show that transition, and in a way, it's kind of nice that it's an arch, because it kind of is a stairway. You climb to the peak in order to see the perspective of what you've learned and who you've become. And then as you transition down, you try to do what all good mentors do, and that is to direct others to the top of the stairs.
So that mural, or that centerpiece that's on the floor of the Memorial Union here in the entryway, is what the two professors had created.
Correct.
Your students on the mural that's in the Memorial Union are actually carving that, and that is a limestone piece, is that right?
Correct. I mean, I had thought about it representing a limestone piece because I wanted to obviously use a structure that's indicative of our region. And we're very fortunate to have Pete Felton as a, highly, just kind of achieved individual himself. And so I did want to think about that kind of color scale. I don't know if they would find a piece of limestone of that size, because if we were to think about the scale, it would probably have to be about a 6-foot circumference. And I don't know if you could stabilize it to that scale, but yes, that's what they're carving. Now, originally, Mabel Vanderveer and John M. Strange would have just made it out of clay. And then they would have gone ahead and created a mold out of plaster and slip cast those over and over, just because of the ornate detail inside of it.
And you've also got the native grasses displayed there in the front of the mural.
Correct, yeah, there's native grasses that you would see that, just are kind of indicative of our landscape. So there's some Indian grass and some other native grass there. And yeah, I'm trying my best to keep as closely rooted in the historical, relevance of our region. Being somebody that's a transplant, I have only been here 6 years, so I'm trying not to influence it with too much foreign information.
The final two panels, will they come up at the same time?
Yeah, they'll come up at the same time, and that will be really the last two pieces on the transformation of this room. So that will take place during the presidential gala or ball that takes place in mid-June. And then this timeline that becomes kind of a half rotunda here of paintings will be fulfilled. So, and I don't know what'll lay ahead of us now. We do have some interesting parties that have come forth talking about some big projects that could be quite significant. Not that these have not been very formidable, but it'll be interesting to see what lays ahead of us on the horizon. Hopefully about that time I'll have some great news to share. But we're still at the point right now where we're just negotiating.
Be in touch, will you?
Yeah, I will.
Joel Dugan, Assistant Professor of Art and Design at Fort Hays State University, with Phase 2 of the journey from the Memorial Union, our community connection.
Angels Care Home Health, serving Hays and the surrounding areas, is a Medicare-certified home health agency providing quality skilled nursing and restorative therapy services to patients in their homes.
And the Angel Care nurse comes to see me once a week.
Angels Care is there to help 24 hours a day, and all services are covered 100% by Medicare for patients who are eligible.
Angel Care has helped to stay home.
Angels Care Home Health. We serve patients.